Hi there, and welcome to today's lesson. Today we're going to be learning about the difference between por and para. Now, this can be one of the most confusing concepts for us when we're learning Spanish because por and para both mean for. Okay, now por and para can take on many meanings, okay, which is another reason it makes them quite confusing. For example, it can mean by, on, through, because of, and more. Okay, so por and para can take on a bunch of different meanings based on the context of the sentence that they're used in. Okay, so first we're going to take a look at por, then we're going to take a look at para, and then we'll see a few phrases that por and para are used in quite often. Okay, so let's take a look. When do we use the word por? Okay, we use it in regards to travel and communication, exchanges, durations, and motivations. Okay, so let's first take a look at travel and communication. Okay, hablé con ella por teléfono. I spoke with her on the phone. Okay, now this can be kind of confusing for us at first, right? Because we see this and we might translate this into I spoke with her for phone, right? That sounds weird. That sounds wrong. Well, the thing is, in Spanish, if I had said, hablé con ella en el teléfono, that would be incorrect. That would mean I spoke with her on the phone, literally on the phone, like standing on the phone. Okay, so the thing is that Spanish can be a very literal language. When we use certain words, it can be taken very, very literally. Okay, so it's important that you understand that the word por is used when talking about methods of communication. Okay, so speaking on the phone, right? For example, sending letters. Okay, nos hablamos por correo, right? We speak to each other by means of mail, okay, or through the mail. Okay, nos hablamos por correo. Okay, we speak to each other by mail. Okay, you wouldn't say we speak to each other on the mail, right? That doesn't make sense. That's what I'm saying. Por its meaning can change based on the context of the sentence, okay? Which once again can be another reason that por and para can be quite confusing, okay? But just remember, when it comes to methods of communication, we use the word por, okay? Por teléfono, por correo, okay? Cool. Next example. Viajé por México. I traveled through Mexico. Okay? I traveled through Mexico. Now, this sentence could also mean I traveled by Mexico. However, better to say I traveled through Mexico. Okay? So, once again, right? Notice how the meaning of this word is changing based off the context. Okay? So, the thing is that it wouldn't translate nicely into English if I said, I traveled for Mexico. That makes no sense, right? So just when we use these words, por and para, the meanings are going to be all over the place, okay? So the way that we're going to get better at this is through two ways. Studying this lesson, going over this lesson, using the quiz after the lesson, and getting used to hearing it and really trying to train your ear to listen for it in speech. Or if you're listening to music or a movie or what have you, right? To say, okay, wait, they use por there. Why did they say, okay, viajé por México? Okay, so trying to get used to really hearing it and noticing when the meaning changes based off of different context clues, okay? So, viajé por México. I traveled through Mexico. Okay, once again, remember, por and para don't just mean for. They can also mean by, on, through, because of, and so on. Okay? Exchanges. Okay, so this is when we use por, right? I give you something, I'm going to use por. You give me something, I'm going to use the word por. Okay? Pagué 200 pesos por la playera. I paid 200 pesos for the shirt. Okay, so notice how in this example, por is representing that word for. Okay, just like that same English equivalent, okay? So when it comes to exchanges, right, most times, por is going to mean that word for in English, okay? For example, I'll trade you my sandwich for your cookie. Yo te cambio mi sándwich por tu galleta, right? I'm using por because an exchange is going on, okay? So anytime an exchange happens, you're going to use por, okay? Not para. All right, durations, okay? So when we talk about durations, we're going to use por, not para, okay? For example, trabajo por 8 horas cada día. I work for 8 hours each day. Okay, so same thing going on in this sentence, right? Por is representing that English word for, okay, in this example. So when talking about durations, we use por, okay? I lived in Spain for 3 months. Viví en España por 3 meses, right? We're using por, why? Because we're talking about a duration, right? A duration of time, 3 months, right? Okay, cool. And finally, we use por when talking about motivations. Now, this is a very, very, very common use of por, and it's quite common to hear this in songs, okay? So if you're listening to a song in Spanish, it's quite often that you're going to hear this use of por, okay, when talking about motivations, okay? So, todo esto pasó por ti. All of this happened because of you. Okay, so in this context, por is going to mean one of two things. Because of or due to. Okay? All of this happened due to you. Or all of this happened because of you. Okay, so same idea, right? Due to and because of. Same idea, right? However, sometimes when we translate it into our English brains, it might sound more natural or more clear to say because of versus due to, or vice versa. Okay? All right, last example. Por tu amor soy feliz. Okay? Because of your love, I am happy. Okay? So, like I said, really, really common to hear this in songs in Spanish. Por tu amor, right? Por tu amor, right? Something like Vicente Fernandez, right? That kind of idea. Por tu amor soy feliz. Because of your love, I am happy. Due to your love, I am happy. Okay? Cool. So there you have it. This side of the whiteboard is all based off of por. Okay? Like I said, I know that this can be kind of confusing, right? And we're going to take a look right now at the use of para. But por can be quite confusing. A lot of times we can understand easier para as opposed to the word por, but I just want you to be aware of that. Por, like I said, can mean so many different things, right? By, on, through, because of, right? So something to be aware of, okay? Great. Well, let's move on to this side of the whiteboard, okay? Now we're going to talk about para, okay? When do we use para? Okay, we use it when talking about destinations, recipients, deadlines, and goals. Okay? Cool. So let's take a look at the first example up here. Okay? Voy para Colombia. Okay? I am going to Colombia. Okay? I am going to Colombia. Okay? So in this sentence, para is taking on the meaning of the word to in English, right? I am going to Colombia. You could also say, I'm headed for Colombia, right? Then you would literally have para meaning for, okay? Either one works. Typically, if we were to see this sentence, we would translate this into our English brains as I'm going to Colombia. But if you say I'm headed for Colombia, that works great. That's totally fine, okay? Voy para Colombia. Okay? Next one. ¿Para dónde vas? ¿Para dónde vas? For where are you going? For where are you going? Or where are you going? Right? So if I know that you're going to some destination, I can use para dónde vas. Right? A lot of times you'll just hear a dónde vas? Where are you going? A dónde vas? To where are you going? But you can also say this. ¿Para dónde vas? ¿Para dónde vas? Where are you going? Okay? Okay, next example. Recipients. Okay? So if I'm giving you something, right? If someone is receiving something, then we're going to use para. Okay? For example, el regalo es para ti. Okay? El regalo es para ti. The gift is for you. Right? So if I'm giving you something, if you're receiving something, we're going to use para. Okay? Now, you could argue that this might be an exchange, okay? But in this example, if you're receiving something and not giving back, right, there's no exchange going on, then you're still going to be using para, not por. Remember, if an exchange is happening between two people, then you would use por, whereas in this example, the recipient, right, they're the thing receiving, but they're not necessarily giving back. There's no exchange happening, okay? El regalo es para ti. The gift is for you. Okay, cool. Next example, para deadlines, okay, when talking about deadlines, okay? Hay que terminar el proyecto para el jueves. I have to finish the project for Thursday. Okay, so here we have this deadline, Thursday, okay? So we're going to use para here. Okay, so notice how so far para has less changes in its meaning when it comes to different contexts. Okay, so for example, para dónde vas? For where are you going? Right, so para is still meaning for, right? El regalo es para ti. The gift is for you. Okay, so more often than not, para is going to mean for in English. Not always, of course, but more often it is going to mean for as opposed to por. Por oftentimes will not mean for in English. It will mean, by, on, through, because of. Okay, so that kind of different idea. Okay, awesome. Okay, then finally we have para when talking about goals. Okay, this is a really, really common use of the of the word para. Okay, when talking about goals. So a lot of times we're going to have this little combination going on. Para plus an infinitive verb. Okay, so in this example down below, para ganar, okay, in order to make, okay, so right here we have this little combo going on, para plus infinitive, okay, so para ganar más dinero, hay que trabajar más, okay, in order to make more money, you need to work more, okay, so notice how para has changed its meaning in this example. It's changed its meaning to in order to, okay? So this is a common use of the word para, in order to, okay? Para tener éxito, blah, blah, blah. In order to be successful. Para tener éxito, in order to be successful, okay? So oftentimes, para will mean in order to. Whenever you see this para plus infinitive, more often than not, it's going to mean that. Para ganar, in order to make blah, blah, blah. Okay? Cool. So, talking about goals. Okay? Cool. Now, finally, at the end here, let me move over a little bit. I have some examples of por and para using some common phrases. Okay? So, in this first one, por supuesto. I'm sure you've heard this, right? Por supuesto. This means of course. Of course. Por supuesto. Of course. Okay. Por supuesto. Okay? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? Right? Why? ¿Por qué? I'm sure you've also heard the other por qué, right? You've got por qué put together, which is because, and you've got por and qué separated, which means why. Okay? ¿Por qué? Now, you could literally translate that into for what, right? And if I said for what, if I'm asking you, hey, for what? That could mean why, right? So think of this, ¿por qué? Right? Why? Okay? Para siempre. Really, really, really common use of para, right? Para siempre. Forever. Okay? Para siempre. You're going to hear this one a lot when you're listening to music in Spanish. Para siempre. Okay? And para qué. Okay? Now we have two forms of para qué. We have para qué without an accent on the E, on this qué, and we have it with an accent. So, que without an accent can mean that, than, who, okay? Que, that in this example. Para que, so that. Okay, para que, so that. Now if I say para que with an action over that, that would mean what, right? For what? Why? Okay? Why? Para que, porque. Both can mean why, okay? Accent over it means why, right? Without an accent means so that. Para que, so that. Okay? Cool. All right, so there you have it, right? There you have por and para. Now, like I said, por and para is a very, very confusing topic for us as English speakers when we're learning Spanish, okay? It's going to be tough, right? But practice makes perfect, okay? So make sure you can always re-go over this lesson, right? You can go over this again, por, you can go over this again, para, right? Make sure to go over the quiz, this lesson's quiz, because, like I said, por and para, very, very confusing at first, but the more you start to use it when you're speaking, and the more you start to hear it in speech, the more used to its uses that you're going to be more accustomed to. Right, okay, that's when I would use por. Right, that's when I would use para. Okay, cool. If you have any extra questions, you can always leave me a comment on this video, or you can send me an email. Let's move on to the next lesson.